Welcome to Crop Talk, brought to you by Innovative Ag Services, and this is our second field scouting special. Each week from March through October, our agronomy team shares timely, boots-on-the-ground updates from across the IAS geography, so you can make confident decisions as the seasons change. Today, you'll hear a quick regional update from our IAS agronomists, including what we're seeing in the fields right now, what to keep an eye on next, and a few practical scouting reminders you can put to work this week. I'm your host, Nicholas Giesman. This week, we're going to start on the southwest side, and I'm going to pass it to Nick.
Thanks, Nicholas. Hi, I'm Nick Thompson from the Southwest, covering Story County, Hardin County, and Hamilton County. Today's topic on safety is going to be anhydrous on the roadway. Always remember to pull your tanks at 35 miles per hour or less. You always need to make sure that our slow-moving vehicle sign must be visible from the rear of the vehicle. And one piece that is commonly forgotten is an amber signaling light. That must be visible at all times from the rear of the vehicle. And if the tanks that you are hauling are wider than the truck you are hauling it with, you must have an additional light attached to the back. The hazard lights on the truck won't be enough. If you get involved in an accident while hauling your anhydrous, get yourself to safety first and immediately call the Department of Natural Resources to report the potential spill. Now we'll move on to our region update here in the Southwest. Everything is dried out here with the wind, and most people are looking to get out in the fields. This past week, we had our custom anhydrous applied. The tanks have been moving all week, and specialty crops such as peas are even beginning to be planted along I-35 here. Tractors are filling the roadways, either applying anhydrous, manure, or doing basic tillage, just getting ready for the season. Next, I'll move it over to Owen in our Northwest region.
This is Owen Heatland in the Northwest region at the Cleves location, covering Hardin, Franklin, Grundy, and Butler counties. Same here as what Nick said, has dried out a lot. There's a lot of guys working on anhydrous. We're working on custom anhydrous, and a lot of dry is going on the ground. I have seen a few customers putting down spray as far as burn down, and I have started to see some weeds starting to emerge out in the field. So as we continue to stay dry and warm, guys will get done with ammonia and dry, and then we'll move on to planting hopefully in the next week or two. Next, I will send it over to Aaron in the East region.
Hi, I'm Erin Recker. I'm out of the Masonville location. I cover Buchanan, Delaware, Fayette, and Clayton County. Last week, soil temperatures started warming up, so with that, a handful of fields have become ready to start anhydrous application. A lot of guys started late last week or even over the weekend, so we've kept busy hauling tanks to keep our farmers going. We do expect to be running hard the next couple of weeks. However, it's starting to look like we might get some rain this week, so depending on what Mother Nature does, it'll either give us a break or keep going. Spring fertilizer, it started heavy as well, so we have a couple weeks worth of acres to get knocked out. Like Owen mentioned, as I'm driving around the countryside, I'm looking around and thinking ahead. Just a reminder that spring burn down is coming up, so let's make sure we have a plan to get those cover crops and weeds terminated in a timely manner. Now I'll be passing it over to Adriana in our Southeast region.
Thank you, Aaron. I am Adriana Herlash from the Southeast region, covering Jones County and parts of Delaware County. This week's been very busy for growers in my region, and as you've heard others, between running anhydrous and getting fertilizer on before the rain that's coming later this week. Besides anhydrous and dry fertilizer, my recommendation to growers during the next slower couple days is to reach out to your local agronomist and start booking your direct ship loads of 32 and or 32% thio mixes. While we get rained out on running in fields, we can help take care of this now before we all get super busy again. I also recommend that growers start checking their equipment if they haven't already. Making sure planters are set, side dress bars and sprayers are in full working condition. Being prepared and having equipment ready to go ensures a smooth and timely spring. If you're looking to rent any equipment from your local IAS location, make sure you're reaching out to your local agronomist ahead of time so your IAS location can be prepared and have that equipment checked over and ready for when you're ready. Thank you, and that's all I've got for the Southeast region. Sending it back to your host, Nicholas.
Thank you, Adriana, for the update from the Southeast. Looking at the watch list that everybody kind of talked about, it looks like we're talking about some emerging weeds, getting out there and doing some spraying. For that, I would like to pass it back to Owen. He's going to give us some knowledge on timely application and what to look for going out there and doing those pre-passes and those burn downs. Owen, what do you have for us?
There's a couple big important things that we need to think about when we're spraying burn down. First off is we want it to be above 50 degrees the night before we spray, and even better would be if it's above 50 for the past couple nights. We don't always get that early this spring, but that's something to look for. Another thing is making sure we have a good adjuvant load, so plenty of water, making sure we're having AMS, oil if we need it to heat the product up, and then really scouting for what weeds we're going to spray for and what products we're going to use for them, i.e. ragweed will germinate early this time of year. Grass usually doesn't. Water hemp usually doesn't. So just knowing what you're going after and knowing what you're putting in the tank to take care of it. And then the last thing is if we're using 32 as a carrier, making sure that we balance that and the water out to make sure that we get a good kill and don't just burn the weeds.
That's all for this week's Crop Talk by IAS. Thanks for tuning in. If any of our listeners have questions, feel free to email them to croptalk@innovativeag.com. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss next week's update. And if you know a fellow grower who'd value a quick field snapshot, share this episode with them. For more agronomy resources and to connect with your local IAS team, visit innovativeag.com and follow Innovative Ag Services on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We'll catch you next week on Crop Talk.